it's a no-brainer. That will artificial shortages of poultry, so prices go up. So they justify inoculating all of our food supply with experimental mRNA vaccines, which can then transmit from the house to wherever it is. We have to remember, we have one war. We start one. We want battle, but we will first attack evil forces. So we have to remember that we have just unified, and so is the enemy. They only get us. We have to remember that it's not for us to sit back and watch as Trump trolls from us trolls, or if he uses things to agree with, or the government talks about the government agree with. We have to remember that it's how it goes. It's not like we pass the ball to Michael Jordan to secretary resident. We need to keep getting rebound, we need to keep fighting, we need to keep playing offense. We need to be more aggressive now because our aggression is the reason that we're victorious over the fifth. But our aggression has a nation war on scale never before seen. An escalation of this nation war is ultimate human knowledge and ability to eat. We have to apply pressure from leaders to our state leaders. We have to wake people up when we have campaign like hell. We have to pretend that Trump lost and lost fast. We have to support people with national security podcasts. We tweet and post, try to subscribe to people, find someones, fight for our foods, fight for our health. We think our lives. We can't run ad featuring white people celebrating their life just before they engage in position suicide. We have to say no. We don't agree with the notion that human beings, in terms of their illness, are supposed to choose death. We're called to choose life. That's what our customers away. They want us dying, not necessarily dead yet. They want us dying if they're going to die. It's like 60% of all their customers last 9 days life. So that's actually cool. And that's why they're trying to establish the infrastructure, but not lead us through the food supply without letting them. They got straight from Washington.
These mutations, once we identify them, well, they potentially can be used in a biowarfare product. And oh, by the way, the biowarfare treaty has a gap in it that's so big you can drive an M1 through it. And that gap is that if it's a non-lethal pathogen, in other words, if it makes you so sick that you won't pick up your missile launcher and fight, that's acceptable, so long as it doesn't necessarily kill you. So there's a whole school of research here in which there is R&D on the development of non-lethal infectious disease for biowarfare purposes. And of course, that's happening here, it's happening in Russia, it's happening in China, it's happening throughout the world, and it's also happening in non-governmental rogue non-nation states, the terrorists.
Sure.
So that's the dark side of all of this is it's justified. The public face, this is a Janus face situation. The public face is, oh, we have to do this because we have to be able to anticipate threats and better identify them as they develop. But the other side of that is that this can potentially lead to a bioweapon that may be allowable, or well, the other guys might come up with bioweapons, so we need to come up with a bioweapon in order to counter the bioweapon that the other guys can come up with. And that is absolutely written into NATO policy. So there's that point. And this has been going on for decades. To be blunt, a good case can be made that modern molecular biology and virology and bacteriology as it exists right now is the consequence of the U.S. government, in part, having spent far more on biowarfare than it spent on nuclear weapon development. Okay? That's how deep we are in it. The heads of the American Society for Microbiology for years and years and years were top guns within the U.S. biowarfare establishment. So, we've got to be careful about casting stones, that this is all the nasty Russians and the nasty Chinese. We've been doing it absolutely ever since the Second World War, and we built that infrastructure at Fort Detrick, among other places, by importing scientists from Germany and Japan that were very much involved in biowarfare product development. Now, what was the third question?
Well, I think Alex wanted to know what you anticipate is going to happen next. We are coming up on a break in about 90 seconds. I want to keep you for the first 5 minutes of the next hour, please, if you'll stay with us, Dr. Malone. This has been fascinating, but in the first 5 minutes of the next hour, I want to kind of give you the floor and talk about what you think is going to happen next. And I also want you to address the question of whether the mRNA technology in vaccines given to poultry, if that does occur, can potentially inoculate anyone who eats the poultry. You mentioned that doesn't seem to be the case right now with the current mRNA from poultry, but maybe from milk, specifically from dairy, that's possible. But my question for you would be then, similar to how you can buy a semi-automatic rifle that only fires one round every time you pull the trigger, you can modify it just slightly and it becomes an automatic weapon. Is it possible that even though currently the mRNA vaccines in poultry wouldn't be transmissible to humans from eating that poultry, Is it possible that it could be tweaked or modified in a small way or a substantial way after the infrastructure is in place to inoculate the food supply so that it would inoculate or vaccinate the people who eat poultry? So stick with us, Dr. Malone. Thank you so much for your time. On the other side, we'll talk about that question, what you think is going to happen next. Make sure you visit him, support him at malone.news. Follow him on X as well. Dr. Malone, it's always an honor and pleasure to be with you. Stay with us in 2 minutes. We'll unpack that on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have got a massive win-win situation for you. The AlexJonesStore.com has launched an affiliate program. Now, you can use the money you make from it to buy product, or with one click, get cashed out.